No pressure. All right, quickly, call out the emotion you see this person communicating. Just call it out. Anger, frustration. I think we lock in anger, frustration. All right, next slide, you're going to see a dancer. Call out the emotion you see this dancer communicating. Look at the body language. Okay, so you can see it's a lot more complex. And this is a famous study done in dance and psychology. So dancers and scientists were told to communicate an emotion. Scientists chose to communicate just like this with facial expressions. They communicated anger, the audience identified anger. The dancers decided to communicate through a 1 minute long movement piece. The audience identified the emotion, which was great, but they also saw other emotions in there. And that's because we never communicate and experience one emotion at one time. So if you're feeling anger, you're also feeling loss or grief or sadness. And so this study demonstrated that dance was a tool that can communicate complex emotions. If you remember the musical West Side Story, if you're old enough for West Side Story, you know the famous scene of Play It Cool with the clicking. There are the two teams, the two gangs. You got the Jets and the Sharks. You see the anger, you see the sharp, strong movements, but then you also see them retract in. They're trying to play it cool. They're holding it in. You're seeing the resentment and anger. So what you're seeing is a thinking body communicating complex thoughts. And this is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, manage, and influence the emotions of yourself and others. In my job as a psychologist, we use talk therapy to communicate and increase our emotional intelligence. We aim to increase our emotional literacy. We decode emotions and make sense of their meaning, all to increase our connection between our thoughts and feelings. And as fabulous and helpful as this is, there are times where the verbal communication can be quite limiting. In my other job, as a dancer and dance teacher, we don't use verbal tools. We use our body and we use movement. And considering 93% of communication is non-verbal, it is no surprise that dancers can communicate using their body. Dancers have an incredible mind-body connection, which means they can use their body to understand, feel, and sense things. And they can bring this awareness to become a thinking dancer. So there's cognition behind the movement. I do these fabulous exercises. I own a dance studio. And I do these fabulous exercises with my students. I get them traveling across the room and I'll give them a direction. I'll say, imagine you're surrounded by water. And if anyone's worked with children before, you know if you ask them, what are you feeling? They're going to say, I don't know. So they need the direction, they need the guidance to explore their thoughts. This one time I had my teen group and I said, travel across the room like somebody who has hurt you is behind you. And what transpired still gives me goosebumps. I had this 16-year-old girl slam to the floor. She moved slow, then quick. She ran, sharp movements, strong movements, leaps. Everyone in the room saw and understood her emotions way more than her emotional literacy would have allowed. And not only did we see and understand her emotions, we also felt them too. And this is because of mirror neurons. Mirror neurons are when your brain cells fire as though you experience in what someone else is experiencing. So they fire in the same region. So you can experience what someone else is experiencing because the same region in your brain is firing. And this is the neural basis of empathy, not emotional intelligence, empathy. And as you know, emotional intelligence is not just you understanding your own thoughts and feelings, it's understanding the thoughts and feelings of others. And dancers are doing this all the time. So not only do we observe other dancers and see their emotions, we're also mimicking them. We move in unison, we move in the same direction as them. So we're always developing emotional intelligence. I'm very passionate about this area that I've had published research in this field. I examined to see if dancers have higher emotional intelligence than non-dancers. And it's true, they do. And not only they have higher emotional intelligence, the more they dance, the higher their ability, the higher their emotional intelligence. So it's pretty powerful and it's very underrated. Thanks. Where am I up to? Yes, so the next time you see a dancer and you see movement, examine it beyond the technique. Admire it, go, that's great technique, they look great, that's athleticism, but look at the emotions, look at what they're communicating. And you yourself move. Dance is just movement and we are all born moving. We literally enter the world moving and expressing through our body. So next time you're feeling an emotion, communicate through your body or understand someone's emotion through their body. Fire your mirror neurons, and by doing this, you'll be the most intelligent person in the room. Thanks.